What's up, Yoon-Fam? It is I,
Mark Yoon.
Welcome to the last Friday of the month, which is usually our community videos. Now, for those of you who are new on my channel, I do a community video once per month that highlights some of my, I don't necessarily want to say favorite, but some comments and some things from the Discord on the YouTube channel and the Discord, just highlighting you guys and just trying to talk about, see where you're coming from with your thoughts and your thought processes, especially when it comes to my videos. So if you see yourself here, then definitely drop the video a like and let me know in the comment section down below if it did your comment justice. I will be replying to these as well, so it's not super boring, but to not let it drag on too long, I try to choose ones that are pretty concise or ones I find funny. So we'll move on. So Mr. Fox Wild says, my thoughts about no Season 3, and he leaves a link to Cartman freaking out from South Park, and that got a few likes from the Yoon-Fam, and people responded below, such as KittyMeowser Gaming, saying my thoughts exactly, and Ashton Bird followed up with, I felt that. I think a lot of us did, Ashton. DeAndre Campbell says, I enjoy Soul Calibur 6 in general, Season 3 or no Season 3. And I'd have to agree with him, with his thoughts exactly. The game almost didn't get made, and I'm not trying to just be a shill, but I'm just happy that the game was made in general, and I actually really enjoy Soul Calibur 6 for what it is. There's a lot of problems with it. It's not a perfect game by far, but it's definitely up on the top, at least top 3 or 4 of my favorite Soul Calibur games. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next comment. And this was from the part 2 of 2 video that I did dealing with no Season 3. And Terrence Sproul says, I gotta say, you may be right. My chances of a Season 3 have dropped to 40%. I still have little hope, but I've just found Soul Calibur 2 HD Online is backwards compatible on Xbox. To me, that's fun with a bunch of emojis. So the one thing I wanted to say to Terrence, thank you. Just be careful when you're relying on the backwards compatibility for Xbox, and this is not a slam against Xbox players at all, because I know that they Xbox claims to want to preserve the gaming history library, but that has to be, there is some DRM there. They have to be 100% online. Even if you own the disc from the past games, you're not actually reading any information off of the disc. What you're doing is you're putting in the disc, and the Series X is realizing that it's a license. Xbox One does the same thing, that it's a license, and will not play the game offline because it has to download and run an emulator. So it's not actually reading any data off of that disc. So if you ever, for some reason, lose internet, you're not going to be able to play that disc on that newer console. And this is one of the reasons why I usually keep all of my old consoles. It's kind of hard to do because sometimes they need maintenance, especially when they're older. I have consoles dating back to like PS2. I know some people have a lot more beyond that. I just don't. I think I might have an N64 somewhere or a Nintendo, but they're not a part of my setup, my main setup, is what I'm saying. But it's great that you're playing Soul Calibur 2 HD Online. I enjoy that as well. I believe I have that game on my PlayStation 3. It's definitely the best version of that game because at least it has Spawn and Heihachi. It's lacking Link because of the licensing, but otherwise you have to buy all 3 games before anyway. Ashton Bird follows that question up with, I'm excited for Soul Calibur 7, though I'm a bit bummed out that Soul Calibur 6 is done. Well, it's not exactly finito yet. We're not sure if it is finished or not. We just have no communication, so we're all basically just going on inference at this point. What they've done in the past and how their communication looks normally as compared to how long it's been since the last season pass, and when the next chances are, which is either E3 or EVO. E3's chances are pretty slim, and they've lost a lot of fare since like the last time that Soul Calibur made an appearance there, which I believe was like 2018 when it was like revealing the game in general. But there is always hope, so. Gabe says, good video, Mark. We'll just have to wait and see. I agree, that's all we can really do. Shadow of the North Star says, if they are done with the game, why not just say it? Seriously, tell us Season 2 is the final season and we will move on. That comment got some good reception from people. I can see that there's frustration definitely in the community. The problem with this is that it's not that they don't say that they're like done. A lot of the times they don't know if they're done. Like they're still doing work behind the scenes. Sometimes DLC turns into the beginnings of the next game. it happens all the time in the gaming community. People get pushed around and moved around on different projects, and they start working on something else only to imagine they're coming back to that old project, but then they don't. So the communication is not really just like, okay, you're the social media coordinator for our team for Project Soul, and you need to tell everyone that we're finished. They don't even know they're finished. They will hear from the publisher whether they're starting their new game or whether they are concentrating on this. Just now it doesn't seem very plausible because Motohiro Okubo, which is the producer of the game, the head lead producer, he's working on another game entirely, so I can't really see them even pushing for Season 3 at this point, honestly. Simmer God says, if they don't do Season 3, then they might be working on the next game, right? Like I said, like the DLC for Season 3 could turn into the beginnings of Soul Calibur 7. It's not exactly sure what they're doing with that yet, because we don't even know if they're going to be keeping on the same gaming engine. It's doubtful to me. I believe they're probably going to move on to Unreal Engine 5 at this point, so even if they have all those polygons done, they're still going to have to run them through the new computer program so that they can like repixelate them and get them ready for the new engine, depending on if it's compatible with the last engine. So we will wait and see. No Name Commenter left some good information. Well, I'm not sure if it's good. It's definitely informative. I'd have to do my research more on this to see if he is correct, but I'm just putting it out there anyway. He says, or they say, I don't know if it's the guy or girl, all of Bandai Namco's 8th Gen games use client-side peer-to-peer for matchmaking, meaning all of the information is stored on the client side in a fight. All information gets streamed to the host system, and no servers are involved, which means that a lot of aspects would make online better, including cross-play, are impossible. For example, you can still play Dead or Alive 4 online, no problem, even though it came out over 15 years ago, because the platform holder's global service is finding that another person, but no servers exist in the actual game besides peer-to-peer. Bandai Namco is one of the largest Japanese developers in Japan, and they do this to cut costs. Yoshinori Takahashi is the director's actual name, not Masuyama, is just his online name. I figured that was his online tag, but I didn't like do enough like due diligence, I guess, to look what his real name is. I didn't really think it was like super important, so I just wanted to. I mean, I guess it is important. That's kind of dumb of me to say, but for the rest of his information, I'm not sure about like. I'm pretty sure that you have to have a server hub at least to like house like the main data for the online packet, right? Like I don't think that like there can be no servers in general, even if it's peer-to-peer. And all the information is stored on the client side, it still has to be stored in an internal housing unit or a storage server, right? That's just my way of thinking, but maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know. If you found that informative, then go tell him thank you and drop him a like. Now let's go over to the Discord and highlight some people on the Discord. So I asked them on the Discord, what do you guys think about the pros and cons of no Season 3? Matt, the 7th seat, says, pros, more characters, more creation parts, more lore, possible interesting revamps to existing characters like Rock and Aeon. The cons, it might not sell as well past seasons, could use resources and time that could be spent working on Soul Calibur 7. Patriots 1112 follows up with saying, I was going to respond, but Matt the 7th seat said everything perfectly. And I agree. Another one of my moderators on the Discord, Pulsa, the 2nd seat, says, having no 3rd season reduces the likelihood of getting a Soul Calibur 7. Having the 3rd season canceled is even worse, as they need to continue producing DLC to extend the game's lifespan and keep up with the competition. Right now, the majority of fighting games are at or past their 4th season, so unless they produce a 3rd season soon, I can only see cons under the circumstances. It might be different if Bandai Namco had back to development of the beginning, but as Okubo made pretty clear, the success or failure of the franchise is riding on the success of a DLC. If it doesn't do well, then Bandai Namco is not going to greenlight or fund a future game. Paulsa is one of my mods, and he's been on the channel for a long time, and I'm going to speak to you directly, Paulsa, and I don't want anybody ganging up on him. In my opinion, this statement is 100,000% wrong on almost every single point that is made here. Having no third season reduces the likelihood of a Soul Calibur 7. Has nothing to do with anything. They didn't announce a Season 3, so it's not like they're canceling anything. And the DLC that was riding on for future projects was in reference to Soul Calibur Season 2, based on Season 1. So that's already come and gone. We already know that Bandai Namco is going to greenlight a Soul Calibur 7 because the goal set for this game was 2 million sales, I believe, in which they definitely destroyed in physical sales alone. So that's not including digital sales, so we definitely will be seeing a Soul Calibur 7. That's why they started the new timeline in the first place. And then he also says right now the majority of fighting games are at or past their 4th seasons. That doesn't matter. Like, I mean, like, that's apples to oranges. You can't, even if it's Bandai Namco, other properties, you can't compare any kind of game to another kind of game. Unless it's directly in the same market. Even something like Tekken and Mortal Kombat aren't actually in the same market. They speak to an entirely different demographic. And if you're saying just the FGC in general, while that may be true, different games have different niches and different markets. So having something like Soul Calibur competing against Samurai Showdown, for example, doesn't really make much sense because people are just going to play what's available, and relevancy is going to be kept up to the gameplay and the tournaments, not to whatever kind of content is constantly being pumped out. If that was the case, we wouldn't even be at Soul Calibur 6 because there's been 4 Soul Calibur games that didn't even have DLC. So I don't know where that point's really going. I can see where he's going from, but I don't really believe what he's saying to be true. And about them doing everything. Anyway, he followed up again and said exactly, they've been completely quiet for far too long. If something were in the works, then I find it extremely unlikely that they wouldn't have said anything by now. There's also the issue of content based on history. Do you honestly think that they could produce brand new PS5 gen models, levels, illustrations, music, voiceover, story, new mechanics, new modes, blah, 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 when they haven't even done that with the last several games? Again, I completely disagree. They have done it with the last several games. No, it just seems like wishful thinking to me. If they could do that, we would have seen more content showing up in the past DLC, and a 3rd season would have been a no challenge to them, except for the worldwide pandemic there, Steve. You forgot about that. Again, I don't want to be the voice of doom, but we have to keep our feet on the ground while keeping our hopes up. I'm not saying that the 3rd season or Soul Calibur 7 are never going to come. It just seems impossible to me that we would ever get the later without the former. I can't even begin to tell you how uninformed that opinion or statement is. And again, I'm not trying to poke fun at you, Paulsa. Like, we haven't talked about this before, so that's why I'm kind of surprised that you didn't try to make this publicly known when you knew that this was going to be in a video. But it's not wishful thinking when they already said that they're going to greenlight another game if they pass 2 million sales. They've already passed 2 million sales. They already said that the future of the DLC depends on the DLC of the first season, in which it already succeeded, and that's why we got Season 2. Season 3 was never announced. It doesn't matter if Tekken has 20 seasons to Tekken 6. It's an entirely different animal, an entirely different team. If Soul Calibur 6 wants to start working on a Soul Calibur 7, that's what Project Soul is going to do. It doesn't matter, if you think it's too hard for them with getting the new voice acting and all that stuff, they're going to do that. They've done it for every single game. There's only been 2 sets of Soul Calibur games that ran on the same engine. I believe it was 4 and 5. And there were still tweaks to those engines at the time as well, with different processors they were using. So saying that the last couple games have been on the same engine is completely crazy to me. Are you talking about Unreal in general? Because of course that's what they're working with. But there's a new Unreal engine, it's Unreal 5, so that's what they're going to be using all their polygonal stuff for. They're going to shift all their old memory data in, it's going to scan all the works, it's going to update it within the necessary systems, they're going to fix the animations and blah blah blah. That's just how people create games. They don't copy paste things over to the next generation. Honestly, I don't know where all this is coming from. Usually, he seems to have a much more informed opinion. So, I mean, there's a lot of things I agree with him with, while I disagree with him greatly on this take. And this goes back to that, back to memories of that debate, quote unquote, that KittyMeowser Gaming and I had with Deathzall, which you can find in my on my channel, where there are similar takes there as well. And most of the community actually disagreed with those takes as well. So, I guess we'll see what happens in the comment section for that. And finally, we're going to finish off with Moonrail on Discord. And they said, shoot, even Sam Show got a 3rd season. After seeing that I'd hoped for a 3rd Soul season, but now I'm not even sure. Evo is pretty much the last shot at hearing anything. If you want to hear nothing, then that's it for Soul Calibur 6. But judging from the Twitter poll I saw on Bandai Namco's UK website, out of 6,000 votes, Tekken got 29%, Soul Calibur 6 got 34%, and Dragon Ball FighterZ got 37%. So after seeing that, I'm like, okay, this is telling them directly that people still care about Soul Calibur despite being a niche compared to the other two in popularity. And it's given me anecdotal feeling that they won't drop the series after 6 and hopefully do a 7th installment in the future, and at least support 6 until that time comes. Again, just because there's no Season 3, possibly, that does not mean they're going to stop support for the game. They're probably still going to constantly work on the network features and the functionality. They also might give us some update patches with some free, DLC stuff that they were working on that they were going to add for the custom creation parts and things like that. We probably just won't get any characters and things of that nature. So with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to a close. Thank you, everybody, for commenting. Even though some of them get a little spicy, I do love hearing from every one of you. Life wouldn't be interesting if we all agreed, right? So it's great that we get so many varying opinions. And I don't want to see anybody fighting with each other. If you guys want to, calmly talk about this kind of stuff, that's great. I love to see that kind of stuff. But for now, we're going to bring this video to a close. I will catch you guys later. And as always, I love it. Thank you. And thank you.